it's Rose. Welcome back to everyone who has been with me for the past 2 videos. For those who are just joining in, found me on your YouTube page or the algorithm brought me into your life somehow, you might want to check back into my channel and try the first 2 videos. If you don't want to, you can still stick onto this video. It tends to stand on its own if you have a little bit of background with tarot. If not, then I would suggest go checking out my last 2 videos and then coming back. For all those of you who are continuing this journey with me video to video, we are now going to be taking the Everyday Tarot deck and we're going to be doing an interview spread with it to show you just how easy and versatile this deck is for any type of divination or reading setting, for beginners, intermediate readers, seasoned readers, and also for those who read by the book, those who do a mixture of the book and intuition, and those who are just straight up intuitive readers. So we're going to go through that and with a really quick 5-card spread and interview our deck, which I always state for any type of reader, beginner or not, when you get a new deck, to always interview it just so you know the vibe of that deck or what you're getting into with that deck. And what I mean by that, for those of you who are new to tarot, new to spirituality, or new to any type of divination, decks tend to have their own energy, their own vibe, their own attitude. They're kind of like people. And I say that without trying to, well, I'm trying to be a little funny, but it's true though. They are kind of like people. They have their own attitude, they have their own vibe, they have their own energy. And you'll find they tend to stick with you in that type of sense. So if you're someone who's very straightforward, you're going to find a lot of your decks are very straightforward. If you find that you're someone who beats around the bush, you might find a mixture of decks that are straightforward and others which are a little nicer when they give you messages. I wish I was that type of person, but I'm not. All my decks like to smack me across the face with all their messages. So what this spread basically does is it tells you what type of vibe your cards are, their strengths and weaknesses. And what I mean by that is not every deck of card is really good at reading for every subject in life. So what I mean by that is I have certain decks that are really specifically great at love readings. That's just their specialty. That's what they're made for. That's their vibe. They're just very romantic decks. And then you have other decks that are all about work and career, and others that are just about your spirituality or your religion, whatever you want to call it. I'm more spiritual than religious, but your journey with your soul and helping you grow and work on trauma along the way. There's decks that are great for that. And then there are decks for those of you who work with your ancestors. There are decks that your ancestors will claim that they need you to use every time you speak with them. That's just their deck and that's what they use. Same goes if you are any type of person who's pagan, who works with deities or has a patron, either, angels, saints, what have you. There might be certain decks that they claim as theirs that you use every time they have messages for you. And so they kind of like specialties, just like us as people. Sometimes we have specialties with what we work with, and it's the same thing with them, with their weaknesses and strengths. And then what else this spread will do is would also tell you how that works with you and how you two intermingle. And how they're going to challenge you and help you grow as a person. Because basically what tarot is yes, it is a tool for divination, but it is also a tool to get to know your inner knowing, to get to reconnect with your inner gut instinct and get to really reconnect with yourself. And because a lot of the time what we forget and what happens on a day-to-day is we disconnect from ourselves and we forget just how much we actually know subconsciously about things that are going on, situations, and what we need to do in life. That, and we tend to become self-sabotaging. We also have things that we just don't want to hear. So the decks sometimes tell us what we don't want to hear, but we know we need to hear. And that's great for, inner acceptance, inner knowledge, in self-awareness, and also awareness of the things that are going on around you, or things that you might not be aware because they're beneath the surface. Because in most situations, there's more than one person involved. Now, if you excuse me, I need to sneeze. Bless me. Sorry, guys. I needed to sneeze. Allergies. We are in spring, and, you know, I'm allergic to life, and life is trying to kill me very slowly. It's all good. So let's get into this deck now. Like I said in my previous video, if you were with me in that one, if you weren't, I am small. I am a teeny tiny person. I am 5 feet tall on a good day. So I have small hands. Small little hands, so sometimes it's a little harder with decks like these for me to shuffle. If you are someone blessed with, you know, pianist hands, I envy you. Don't come at me at the grocery store. But really, so it's a little harder for me to shuffle a deck, but there's no right way to shuffle a deck. I usually cut my deck in half and then fold them within each other just so that it gets a really good shuffle and the cards really do get mixed up there. Or you can do like cutting the deck into three piles and then mixing them up as well. You can do a mixture. I tend to also shuffle like this. It's just a little bit easier for me. Now with this deck, you can read it any way you want. There are many ways to read tarot. We do have a guidebook, which the basics, because all the cards have a basic underlining meaning that doesn't really change because it's the symbolism, and the background mythology and stories behind them. However, a lot of people tend to read tarot or any type of divination tool just intuitively, because it is an intuitive tool, so you can do it that way. There are some people who read it intuitively with a mixture of the basis of understanding and memorizing the meanings behind the decks of the cards and each card's meaning, because they all have different meanings that you can memorize. And then there's some people who go straight by the book and just go by the memorized readings. I tend to do a mixture of what I memorize of what those cards mean, plus intuitive, but it all depends also on the questions I'm asking, the deck that I'm using. So really it all depends on you, what style you want to go with. If you have any extra questions on that, guys, don't forget to comment below and I'll try to give you a little bit more explanation either on a different video or through the comment section. All right, so I am someone who likes to communicate, and I tend to think that, you know, I've not yet met a person who can read minds, nor do I want to. If you can read minds, I'm so sorry. That is a power I would never want. I don't even want to hear my own thoughts. But same thing kind of goes with decks for me, so I tend to communicate like what I'm looking for. I could shuffle this 1,000 times and nothing will pop out, which is a different way also of taking cards. A lot of people will, you know, take from the top of the deck or the bottom of the deck or the middle of the deck, or they'll, you know, splay it out and then pick the cards that call to them. I've tried all those methods. My favorite method is just shuffling until a card hits me in the face. I find it to be the most accurate read for me, and they call them jumpers. So basically what I'll do is I'll say, okay, so I'm shuffling here and I want to know, who are you? Basically, tell me about your personality. And I'll keep shuffling until I get something like that. Usually when I do something like this, I'll go for 1 card, 2 cards max. If they give you more than that, I tend to put the cards all back and shuffle again, just because I'm a little lazy and I don't want to be reading 6 to 7 cards for 5 different questions. Just a thought. All right, so for who this deck is or their personality, we have the 6 of Wands and the 4 of Swords. And this is why I say, for those of you who are just tuning in with me, I think you're better off going to the first ever video where I do actually go through tarot and the basics of tarot, just to explain what these cards mean. I'm going to try as much as I can to make this video compact with as much information as I can. But the 6 of Wands, as you can probably see, and I'll show it on this view too, you can see you got this woman on a horse and it's celebration, and they've got like a wreath. I think that's how you say that. Listen, don't come at me in the comments about how to say it. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. A wreath. And basically with the 6 of Wands, it talks about someone who's celebrating. So they're celebrating wins, successes. Talks about a time in your life where you've done a lot of work and now you're reaping the benefits of that work, and you're having a good old time celebrating that great time with friends, family, the people around you, and you're just celebrating. And, you know, the stuff that we want to do but can't because we're in the middle of a pandemic. That kind of vibe. And right beside you have the Four of Swords. And this card is usually very, very, I don't want to say hard to read, but it's usually very confusing depending on which deck you're using and who you're talking to. Because the swords tend to gravitate towards mental thoughts. And a lot of the swords tend to deal with the more darker themes of life. And I don't mean darker, but just the harder themes of life, like trauma, grief, pain, deception, and all those things with the swords. They have other great numbers as well that do lighter things, but usually the swords is a very heavy suit that comes about in any type of reading. But in this one, it kind of just talks more about rest after like a hard time. The card that goes before that is a Three of Swords, and that talks about like heartbreak and breaking up or losing someone and really feeling the pain of losing that person. And so with the Four of Swords coming after, basically what that talks about is someone who's taking that rest and relaxation and taking time to refill their cup after it's been emptied and filled with pain. And so what that tells me as like a personality for this card is basically like this card is really great at celebrating wins with me, celebrating things that I'm doing well as letting me know when I need to take time to rest and take time to sit with my own traumas or pain and actually let myself feel those emotions without pushing them aside and giving them that moment to be and see them for what they are and take what knowledge and wisdom they have to give me. So basically to stop and smell the roses and stop and also understand that it's okay to cry or to feel those rougher emotions that we tend to put in a box. I know I do with my Virgo moon. All right. So then the next card we're going to get is the deck strengths. So let's see what the strengths of this deck are. Like again, I tend to do this. Now what I find is after a little bit, if I don't get a jumper, which I've gotten, I got a jumper, guys. See? But if I didn't, I would just take a card from the top of the deck or the bottom of the deck, whichever fancies me. Again, we got another swords card. I'll show you here. And this is another one that's not too heavy. It still has heavy tones to it, but it's not a heavy card. It's actually a good card to get with the Suit of Swords. So with this one, you have the Six of Swords, which really you have, it looks like a parent and their child, and they're on a boat and they're sailing towards a town. And usually what this deck or card talks of across the board of all tarot decks with the basis is basically someone who is leaving a bad situation for a better one, leaving old things behind for better shores. And so the strength of this deck, I would say with putting that, is that this deck is really good at letting me know when it's a good time to leave a situation that no longer serves me or no longer compels me or challenges me to grow, and when it's time to leave that situation and move on to bigger and better things that will help me grow and will help me become the more authentic self. Your next card for this interview would be their weaknesses. So let's see what weakness it's got. So basically this is what you would do for each deck, and it would give you a little bit of a vibe check, and then you'll know what deck to use for what types of readings, because I'll let you in on a secret. The moment you get one deck, it doesn't stop. It's like an addiction. You gotta get more because they're all just so pretty, and you never could have enough. So for their weakness, I got the Ace of Cups. So the Ace of Cups is the first card in the cup suit. The cup suit usually talks about emotions and the emotional platform of life. This one is where you see somebody's cup is overflowing with water in somebody's hand, and you also have a dove putting a disc inside. And usually this card can talk about new beginnings in either a relationship, like a new relationship if you're going for romantic stuff, or even a new beginning emotionally. Emotional abundance. So what this tells me as their weakness is that this is not a deck to ask questions about the emotional realms, whether that be romantic relationships, anything really to do with my emotional mindset. This is not the deck to go for. They're not a mushy gushy deck. So if someone was asking me to do a love reading, this is not the deck I would go for. Which is funny because I have a friend with the same deck, and the deck loves love readings. So again, that's why I say each deck, even if it's the same deck, with its owners is all different because the energy is different. They come to you or you find them for different reasons. So the fourth card you have in the spread is what type of readings this deck prefers to do for you. So you see? Always getting them flyers. Okay. So for that one, I've got the Queen of Pentacles. Now the Pentacle suit really talks about earth and our earthly needs and wants. So anything about wealth, your physical possessions, business, anything to do with feminine energy or your divine feminine energy, which we all have. That's not really gendering anyone. It's just the energy base. And you've got like the Queen of Pentacles, which to me always talks about kind of like a mothering or nurturing figure, someone who's really good with their money, someone who is grounded, knows what they want out of life, has boundaries set, very patient, very, keeps you feeling welcoming and accepted, and also loved. So this person would be a really great person to be around, or, your mom friend. So what this tells me is this deck really loves to talk about financial abundance, or anything that has to do with like my career, or how to make money, or how to be more grounded, how to be more centered in earth, how to reconnect with Mother Nature, or my feminine side, my more feminine side, more feminine energy. So that would be the types of readings that this deck would love to get and thrive on giving me messages. And then the last card you get for this interview spread is how you challenge me, how this deck is going to challenge me. So again, I'm just going to shuffle. Oh, God. Come back. That's the one bad thing about flyers, is that if it falls, you got to go pick it up. And let me tell you, that was hard. That was a long way down, and I'm short. All right, so what we got for this is the Ten of Cups, which is hilarious because this deck really, really, really isn't much of an emotional deck. But how this deck is going to challenge me is it's going to challenge my expectations, because with the Ten of Cups, it's kind of that card normally is seen as a wish fulfillment card. It means you get everything you've ever wanted and more. You get that amazing relationship, that healthy relationship, you got that job, you've got everything you could ask for, and you're just happy, and the sky is the limit for you. And so what that means for me, if it's challenging me, is basically what it's telling me is like, it's going to challenge me to do what I need to do to fulfill my wishes and get where I need to be. And also make me reevaluate them and understand that, the sky's the limit. Stop making yourself smaller, make yourself bigger. And yeah, that's how you would use the deck. What I also like to do to get extra information is look at the card at the bottom and look at the card at the top. and then that gives you like another mini reading. But basically this is how you would start out for you guys who are beginners. It's really great to use spreads because it's a great constructive way of doing a reading and seeing the cards of how they are, and then you can like flip through your book, and it really, if you write it down, you get that whole story and you can go back. The way I read, as you could probably tell, I've already got a lot of it memorized because I've been doing it for so long. But not only that, I kind of vibe with it and also let my gut do what it wants to do and tell me, and just, it's kind of like, you know, when you get those weird messages, you know where they're coming from and you just trust it. It's the same kind of thing when you're reading in this kind of platform. But this is always a great thing to do when you get a new deck, just to know where they stand, where you stand, and what your symbiotic relationship is together, because really these tools do have a relationship with you, or you create a relationship with them because you're getting information and messages through them. And it's a really great way to also know parts of yourself that those tools bring out. So yeah, guys, if you have any other concerns or anything you want clarified, or any questions about the deck, the spread, the reading, the methods, please comment below. I swear to you, I'm basically always on my phone. I know it's bad, but I really am always connected. So I will hopefully get back to you guys as soon as I can with a response, or if it's something that I feel needs a little bit more information, I would 100% tag you in another video series with the information that you need or were asking for. If you don't feel you want to comment down below, you can always find me on my Insta, TikTok, or Twitter and send me a quick DM question, and I'll hopefully get back to them as soon as I can with any kind of information. You can find all of those links on my channel, and I believe it's in the bio. And obviously, if you guys don't want to miss out on any content, please press the subscribe button at the bottom and make sure that that notification bell is clicked on so you don't miss out on any content. I do put out content every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday each week, or I try to at least. And all of my videos usually aren't that long, but they do have quite a bit of information. And if you want just something fun to watch, you can also check out my TikTok. I do also have a podcast if you're looking for something more spiritual based and longer and with a little bit more information. That link will also be on my channel. So go check that out, and also on my Instagram. All right, guys. So hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Next week, I will be doing another review of a different deck. I do believe it's the Everyday Witch Tarot, the mini series. I will be doing a review of that on the Thursday, and then on the Friday, I will be coming out with, again, another reading to show how those cards can be read, because they're a little bit more advanced and a little bit more different and stray. Just a little bit more from the base that most cards come from, which is the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. All right, guys. Hope to see you next week.